Don uses an interesting A7th in 5/8. So 5/8 goes like this. All right. So what he's doing is he's playing a G, and then he goes into this A7th chord. All right. And it's really just a major A7th. Like I said, a normal F7th shaped A played like that. Well, what he's doing is he's grabbing that 7th note on the 5th fret, on the 8th fret on the 2nd string. So it's the same note. And then he's grabbing the 7th fret on the 1st string with your middle, and then grabbing the 6th fret on the 3rd string with your pointer finger. All right, so it's basically just a straight A7th. It's just an unusual use of it, because most of the time, like I said, you'd use this A7th. So the reason why I'm fingering it like this with these certain fingers instead of doing it a different way is because in 5/8, he uses his pinky to reach over and grab that 9th fret on the 1st string back and forth while holding down that 7th fret on the 1st string. So, all right, and you don't have to just use that for 5/8. You can do it in a D7 or a G. All right, and you can do all kinds of cool little things with this. That little part there where you add your 9th fret on the 1st string there is another A7th or 7th chord that he would use. Instead of holding it down here with the middle on the 7th fret, you can just hold it down here on the 9th. So that would just be another A7th you can use anywhere on the neck. You can move it down here to a D7. For example, this is a kind of a lick that Don would use quite often in a D chord. He would brush that instead of rolling that chord in a D7. He would brush it. All right, so so that little lick there, you can brush it. You can roll it. Like I said, you don't have to stick to the key that I'm playing it or showing you, and you can just experiment with a lot of this. So, all right. So those are pretty cool little 7th chords that you can use. Another one is your regular D7th. All right. Don used this one a lot. So what he's doing here, instead of this D7th that I just showed you earlier, we're going to put our middle finger down here on the 1st string. So we're not leaving the 1st string open in this D7th. All right. So let's say Trail of Sorrow. Grabbing that D7th right there. All right. Don used this one quite a bit, like I said. One that comes to mind is a tune called Ridge Runner, where he runs through an E. So this is a D7th. This is an E7th. You just move that position up. So in Ridge Runner, he runs that E7th there. And then you can go right into that A7th that I showed you, into a D7th. Something like that. That's how Ridge Runner goes. But anyway, you can use that D7th chord anywhere on the neck. Speaking of that D7th, here's another little chord that Don would do sometimes. If you do that D7th chord, you can add this note to it. All right. So what I'm doing there is I'm doing that same D7th, but I'm adding the 5th fret on the 2nd string. And like I said, you can move that anywhere on the neck. It gives it that same sound as that one does. It's got a stark, mysterious kind of sound to it. All right. Another 7th chord that Don would do sometimes, so that he didn't do this one quite as often, but is this one here. All right. Now this one here is basically, let's do this in a C application. So we're going to do a C7th application here. So this is based off of your F7th shaped C chord. Or actually, it's more like a D7th. It's based off of a D7th chord. So let me explain that real quick. This would another D7th chord is this. This is a D7th, and this is a D7th. All right. So this 7th note is the same one down here. All right. It's a C note in your D chord makes your a 7th note. So all right. So this normal D7th shape, if you move that up to here, this is your D-shaped C. This is the D-shaped 7th chord, C chord. What I'm doing here is I'm coming back and grabbing this note on the 10th fret, and I'm going down in a row. So those two strings here, the 3rd and 2nd strings, are right out of that D7th shape that we just did. But I'm grabbing the 1st string on the 10th fret instead. So my fingers are right in a row, 1, 2, 3, like that. Don used this in Follow the Leader, and I believe he just played partial chord on that. Like he rolled on the 5th, 1st, or the 5th, 2nd, and 1st strings like that. But you know, your 12th fret on the 3rd string is the same as your 5th string. So, all right, so. But what we can do is we can use this chord shape in any key. So if I wanted to do this in A, here's your A7th, here's your D-shaped A, here's your D-shaped A7th. So what I'm going to do is just move that back on the 1st string to the 7th fret. So you can kind of gain your bearings that way if you want to do it that way, or you can kind of look at your F shape and know that you just move that right up to there like that. But anyway, that would be an A7th. Now, Eddie Adcock used this chord shape a lot, so he would do things like stuff like that. Don didn't use this one as much, but he did hit it every once in a while, like I said. So, all right, let's get into a few chords here that aren't 7th chords. There's a lot of 7th notes or 7th chords to learn. This particular chord shape is the one he used in Dill Pickle Rag. All right. So what we're doing here is this is going to be kind of based out of your F7 or your F-shaped G. And we're just going to walk right up to the 3rd or the 7th fret on the 3rd string out of that G chord. All right. Then I'm going to lay my fingers flat across the 5th fret on the 1st and 2nd string. So, all right. So we can move that. Dill Pickle Rag goes through a G, A, and a D. So you can just move that position right up the neck to an A, to a D. All right, so Don also uses this chord shape in Dill Pickle Rag in later versions. All right. So what's unusual about this chord shape is that you can use this as kind of a harmony. If you have another banjo player playing this part, you can play this. All right. Then when he goes to A, you come up here. And what this chord shape is, I'm hitting the 12th fret on the 3rd string and the 10th fret on the 2nd string and the 9th fret on the 1st string. All right. So then I'm just going to move that up to the 14th fret and play an A. When he comes up to your other banjo, your imaginary other banjo player, if he uses this D, you would come up here and play this one. All right, so that makes a nice little harmony for that. And what's also unusual about this chord shape, not only can you use it for a G chord, you can also use that for an A chord. So, and it makes perfect sense because your A 7th chord, this one here, this D 7th shape that I showed you that was in Ridge Runner, if you move that up here to A, it's almost the same thing. So on the 12th fret on the 3rd string and the 10th fret on the 2nd string, that's your A 7th chord notes. But we're going to finger the 9th fret on the 1st string. So it makes for an unusual A 7th chord. So you could use that there during the A part if you wanted to. So that's kind of a neat little thing there. You could use it in your E. All right. So that D chord in what is this? What am I playing here? A Dill Pickle Rag. You can also use that as a D or an E 7th. See, so your E chord is like this. You can use this instead. So it gives it just a little different sound. If you're playing in an E chord, it would give it a weird sound to it. Probably not as a weird, but it's more of these chords are more of a happier sound than these 7th chords that I've been showing you. So. All right, and Don would use these particular chords in behind fiddle backup a lot. So if a fiddle was playing a shuffle, a real fast shuffle or something, he would use these chord shapes. So you can mix and match those ones I showed you earlier. So in this case, I do a G, do that A 7th I showed you, then do this D chord. All right. So I know I'm going a little long on this video, but there's a few chords that Don used, a lot of unusual chords that he would do, and there's a bunch more, but these are the ones I could think of off the top of my head to show you. So play around with these and experiment and come up with your own ideas and ways to use them, and I'll see you on the next one.